Hey, hello. We're live in the afternoon on this Thursday. Yeah, the morning got away from me. It seems like every morning gets away. And yesterday totally got away from me. I had to meet with my client yesterday, so it was an all-day event. But today, I'll talk about. So yesterday I did a sprint planning session. Right? Oh God, here comes Bubbles. Shoot, cat's coming. Hold down the fort. Bubbles is tracking us down. Bubbles, you want to say hi? There she is. She's been stalking me all day. Anyway, so yesterday I was out with the clients and we were doing a sprint planning session. And I always try to hang around and talk to people and just people, they have questions about what's going on and things like that. One of the questions was, hey, Greg, I thought, sprint planning was supposed to be created or designed by the team. And that is half truth, okay? And I'm just going to be realistic with you. A lot of people say, oh, it's all by the team. The team designs everything. And what the heck does a product owner do, right? So the product owner sets the team up. Product owner says, here's all the things we want to bring to the table. Team, please review these. Tell us if none of these can be done, or maybe you have a better suggestion on what we should do. Now, I'm not saying the team talks about people, but they work together all the time. It doesn't just magically get pulled out of a hat. There's sometimes stuff drops that nobody's expecting. But yes, the team helps participate to build the sprint plan for the sprint. However, the product owner is responsible for bringing the backlog to the team. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. Today is a Thursday. This is our, 1262nd episode of the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show. And I'm putting this mostly just all on the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum sites. So it's coming out of there. I may share it with my personal LinkedIn page too. And if you ever need to get in contact with me, please feel free to message me on any one of the social medias. If you message, I get them all. 5 a.m. Mester Scrum, Greg Mester, who knows? It all sooner or later gets to me one way or another. So it was a great question. I'm glad I was there. And it is a valid question because so many people say, well, the team's responsible for the plan. Yes and no. So one of the things I draw, and I used to have it on my LinkedIn page, but I have modernized my LinkedIn page. It never doesn't show it anymore. So I'm going to draw my little, so I call them, what do I call them? Dual circle, dual, whatever. Anyway, so we have the Scrum team. Okay? There's all these there's people on the Scrum team, right? Usually, hopefully, below 9. Okay, ideally. Actually, the best Scrum teams I ever worked with, maybe like 4 or 5. To be honest with you, that's the sweet spot for a team to really gel and really perform like crazy. Sometimes they take those 9, 10 teams and split them in half virtually, and they all work together in little groups, stuff like that. But anyway, and let's just say this is the product owner, and this is the Scrum Master. But those are between the teammates and product owner, Scrum Master, those are the 3 roles in Scrum, right? Now, some people will say, and the optimal way is the product owner is all knowing, all like the Wizard of Oz, all knowing, all seeing, everything, right? Well, that's imaginary, okay? I'm sorry, but in the reality, none of us work on our own little island. If we were all on our own line, we were like, I won't say the word, but if we knew everything there was, the almighty or whatever you want to call it, yeah, maybe. Well, we're not, right? So the product owner, what I call, has another circle. They have other, like maybe have the PMO. They may have some managers. They may have business units. Business units. right? They may have all these and they have other teams, and so on, and demands, DevOps, operations, troubleshooting, whatever. They're out there, right? Projects, pet projects. CEO wants to do something. Well, you know what? The CEO is their own little entity, or anyone on the board, right? So the product owner goes to all these people, collects all this information, and brings it to the team as part of the backlog. Here's all the things that we want to do. Here's what I think are the best priorities. The product owner sets priorities. That go into the sprint. Like, here's all the things that we really want. Now, the team on sprint planning day may shuffle these priorities around because it makes more sense on how they build the product. Get me? So within the sprint, the team will take the business priority, the product owner priority, as a good starting point. And if the team, as a development team, the team is going to build a product, thinks something should move around in a certain way, then that's what they do. They move them around, right? Can the team write their own stories and stuff like that? Oh, heck yeah. Should they? Oh, heck, well, kind of. Yes, as long as they include what the value of the story is. They need to break down a story into smaller parts. Then you do that during sprint planning, right? You break that bigger story that maybe the business saw on you as a developer. So, well, I can give you this part first, and then I'll give you this part, and then I'll give you that part. So maybe they take the original story or priority that was going into the sprint and break it down into 3 parts. So they can deliver during the sprint pieces as they go and get some feedback loops. There's no rule that says you can only get 1 feedback loop in a sprint. I'm sorry. The sprint review is not the only time the team can get feedback from the stakeholder or the product owner, okay? It's just not true, right? So a lot of people get these misunderstandings, and it's okay, because I know people say that and then you take it as gospel. Like, well, the team is in charge of what's in the sprint. To a point, they're in charge of what goes in. Now, one of the things a team should do is advise the product owner if it doesn't make sense to work something in a sprint, or it makes sense to work something else also in the sprint. Because you know who else is supposed to look at the backlog is the team. You'd be amazed how many team members don't understand that. So they are supposed to look at the backlog of work because they do it. Who better than look at the backlog and what's in the future and what's coming down the pike than the team, right? They can obfuscate or whatever, give up all their rights to what's in the backlog if they really want to. Not the best solution. I've seen a lot of teams do that. They say, yeah, product owner, just tell us what you want us to do. But however, you're intelligent people. You're adults, right? Theoretically. So what you have to watch out for, moving the microphone a little bit here, is it's either yes or no, black or white, on or off. I know we're in computers and we do switch zeros and ones, but in reality, 0 and 1s is always not necessarily the right path. So it's not a product owner is always in charge of what goes in the sprint, and it's not that the team is always in charge of what goes in the sprint. It's a teamwork effort. Why? They're all part of the team, right? They're all part of the, quote, Scrum team. So what I wanted to share, and it's a great question, because like the group I have, and I teach this with a lot of my product owners, and the reason we're on that 4R requirements part, the requirements and sprint planning kind of go together, by the way, in case you were wondering. The product owner, I always advise, and I coach this to my teams, is they should be meeting with stakeholders and other people outside the team, so they don't bring the chaos that comes from all these competing different accounting, finance, business, operation, sales, marketing, CEO, PMO, all these little 3-letter acronyms that are out there in the world. You don't want to bring all that into the team. You don't want to expose that to the team. So the best product owners have pre-meetings, pre-set up. Here are the things that everybody wants. Here's what we're looking at. Here's what I am suggesting. And they have these meetings prior to sprint planning. And that's what this circle's about, right? And it's also part of their communication. I'll talk about that another day. But this is also how they give feedback and give communication from their side of the activity. But I wanted to share that with you because I don't want to say it's not wrong, but it's not perfect the way it was asked. Like the team does it, which is okay. But because I want them to understand. And here's the other thing. How many times do people complain about being in meetings all the time? Do you want to be in every meeting? If you had to be in every meeting there was, you would never get any work done. You got to and this is what I coach companies and owners of companies. You got to let go. You got to let other people do their job and bring you the information. It may not be perfect, and it's never going to be the way you want it, right? It's never going to be perfect, but it's better than you having to do everything and then nothing gets done, right? Because you still got to do your job. You want as much information. You want to be able to ask questions so you can do your job better. But I wanted to share that with you because I think the way Scrum is taught and the way coaches and Scrum Masters do it, or the book says, is a little bit naive, right? There is some pre-meetings that go on, pre-decisions that are made, what's going to go into the product backlog before it gets into the sprint backlog. So the product owner's job is to pick everything that's in the product backlog, which is probably 20 years old, right? Everyone I go to, how old is this thing? Do you still need it? So it's kind of old. They bring it into the team. So here's what I think the priorities are for the sprint. The team's job and responsibility is to give feedback to the product owner and maybe move things around, adjust, and do some stuff. Maybe you say we can't do that right now. It doesn't make any sense. We're not there yet. We need to get these other two products done before we start this new product or something like this in the sprint. And that's their job. Their responsibility is to do that. Sometimes do they think they don't have any say in it? No, they do. And a job as an agile coach is to remind them they do have say into what happens. And they forget sometimes. And I watch them. Like I've done it many times where I'll be like, as an agile coach and the Scrum Master aspect, well, I think, sometimes I look at the stats for the teams and I go, I think you have too much stuff in your backlog. I think you need to cut something out. Maybe you need to have that debate during the sprint planning session. What can you cut out? Because I don't think you're going to get it all done. I'm just being honest with them. And they're like, oh, I don't know about that. I said, no, I doubt it. I bet you. And I could be sarcastic. I bet you lunch. You won't get it done because it's just too much. Anyway, I wanted to share that with you because I want to make sure people understand everyone plays a role in sprint planning, what you're going to work on during that time box. I think it's important you understand that. But I also think it's important to understand that people have their jobs. You got to let them go do their job. So you, as a team member, have to let the product owner do their job and help. And knock on wood, they'll do it good and then do well. And then when they don't do well, you have a retro and you talk about how they can do better and what was missing or not having done. Not that they messed up, because you don't want to do that. But I wanted to share that with you today because I had that. It was fresh yesterday. It was a really good question. I loved the question. I told them I appreciated the question because it's a good point. And it reminds me that I do need to train my teams a little bit and get them up to speed because I got some new people coming in, things like that that would be helpful. Not that they need to, but it might be helpful for them to understand the process and that they are to speak up during sprint planning. Your job is not to be quiet like a mouse. So with that, I want to wish you the best. I want to wish you happy scrumming. I guess that's it. But the side note, just to let you all know, I do have a book coming out soon. I am working on it. I'm going to be sharing with it. It's about career. It's about getting to the next level. I think I talked about that on Tuesday a little bit. It's coming out. I just want to just tell everyone that it is coming out. I am working on it. I am writing it as we speak, going through it's fun. If you all want to know more about it, about the book writing process and what I got to do, please feel free to message me. Okay. With that, I'm going to wish you the best. I want to wish you a happy scrumming and take care because our 15 minutes is up. The scrum is over. Bye. Bye, everyone. See ya. Take care.